Chloe, we're back together.
Thank you for having me. What a treat.
Gosh, what a blessing it is to know you, Chloe. So, for all of you watching, this is our Ask the Experts recap highlight video. For those of you who could not be at the event, which was phenomenal, would be an understatement. We're going to recap the takeaways, but just know that the event with Chloe was completely immersive and experiential. And I would absolutely recommend that you find the time to experience her talent in person. Um, so Chloe, that the Ask the Experts that we did together was really about healing the nervous system using holistic and evidence-based practices to balance the nervous system. In Pelvicore Rehab, as you know, part of what I try to educate people on is that you cannot treat the body without treating the nervous system. The nervous system reigns supreme when we are talking about long-term healing. In fact, I was at a biohacking conference on Sunday, which was phenomenal. And I was pleased to hear that there was a general consensus of if you want the ultimate biohack your nervous system. The
Absolutely.
nervous system is queen and king, right? And we all live in fight or flight. So at Pelvicore Rehab, we have really immersed the practice into a biopsychosocial approach. So, because we know that if we just treat the physical symptoms, people are not going to get lasting results. So, at the event, we did a combination. You did such a great job of educating people on the different components of the nervous system. We did a bit of breathing. You taught the triangle breathing. We did even got some yin yoga poses in, and then we ended with this incredible sound healing practice. We also did some essential oils, and I will tell you, you kind of converted me because I am not a huge essential oil person. But when we put the lavender in our hands and I covered my nose, there was like this instant sort of, I want to say like grounding feeling. It was incredible. So I guess what I would love to ask you to start with, Chloe, is in a minute, talk to us about why the nervous system is so important. We talked about where we're usually dominant. Can you speak to that for a second?
Absolutely. Thank you again for having me. What a great, cozy space here always when we connect with each other.
Yes.
Yeah, the nervous system, like you said, king and queen. Truly, the nervous system is in charge of so many of the autonomic, like the automated functions of the body, right? Everything from our breathing to our digestion, our reproductive health and function. And
I was
so, yeah, all of the above, right? And so I love this idea of really when we're going through things or we're noticing things are out of balance with our health, really going to the root cause. And I know that's something that you focus on a lot with your patients. And so this kind of understanding is very holistic. It's such a holistic approach to, instead of treating the symptom, really getting to the core issue at hand. And sometimes that can feel very frustrating, right? Because it's just like there's so much going on in our lives already. And it's just like, okay, that takes some digging and some exploring, truly. And so when we think of the nervous system and finding balance within the nervous system, we want to start to take a look at the way we're living our lives, right? We are already in live. If you're catching this and you live in the U.S., if you live internationally, you might have a little less stress than us Americans. But we're living this very modern, fast-paced life, and it all starts with like our devices, right? Like our phones are so accessible. It's like a mini computer that's like attached to us all the time. So between modern living, overstimulation, the stressors of just like what's going on in the world, how much information we need to process. Uh, from a biological standpoint, we are not meant to know about everything that's happening in the world. And we're also, not wired to just be productive like 80% of the day. Right. And so much of our practices are already embedded in like knowing all of the things, having access to all of things, and going above beyond, especially if you're running your own business or running your family, like we're overextended. This is the issue. We're overextended and overstressed, and our culture doesn't have enough um apparent, because there are resources. That's why we're here, because we're here to give you the resources. But it's truly this act of being intentional to see like, okay, where in my life am I feeling overwhelmed, overstressed to the point where like it's starting to affect my sleep, it's starting to affect my mood, it's starting to affect my breathing. I got into yoga and meditation because I would notice that when I would be highly stressed, I would be holding my breath for extended periods of time. And I shared that with a doctor once, and they're like, you should look into yoga. And I was like, oh, this is pretty amazing that the doctor was recommending holistic practices. So, coming back into regulation of the nervous system is one, noticing like, where am I feeling out of whack in my life? And then how can I create certain practices? And it doesn't necessarily have to be in yoga, it's just one of the things that has worked for me and my clients. But where in my life can I like add more moments where I have less time with my phone, or more time for myself, or more time for the family in a really holistic way? Yeah. Maybe just more time to take deep breaths into the body, and then allowing that to just not be something that we do just when we go on a retreat or just when we go to the fitness class or yoga class, but like truly looking at that as like an integral part of our life, because our body requires it, right? We have these two functions of the nervous system, and it's the sympathetic, which is the fight or flight. This is not necessarily a bad thing. We talked about that at our workshop. We need fight or flight to get things done, to move forward in life, to protect our families, to protect ourselves, right? From like the cab driving really fast down the street, right? But at the same time, we also need the balancing. We also need the rest and digest. That's our parasympathetic nervous system. It's there for a reason. Yeah. It's there so that our cells can regenerate, our systems, our organs can regenerate, can rest and reset so that they can operate and function optimally, is the word I'm looking for. Optimally.
Totally. So a couple of things. It's so funny that we speak the same language, but sometimes use different words. With my clients, I always say we live our lives with our foot all the way on the gas pedal, and we
Yeah.
don't ever pull it back. And one of the things that we talked about at the event, which I thought was so important to say out loud because I don't even think we realize it, is that you said that there are resources available, but I think in the age that we're living in, even those resources feel like noise,
Yeah.
right?
Seriously.
If on my Instagram feed, because I'm in that world, unwind your nervous system in 30 seconds and do this and do that. And I feel like ultimately it becomes noise because there's too many choices. And we have to be so intentional about what we need. We are
Yeah.
so, I think we've become so indoctrinated and wired to listen to what other people are telling us to do on social media, right? What
For
clothes
sure.
to buy, what makeup to wear, what kind of therapy to seek, what products to buy, what to do
So,
with exercise, and it all becomes noise. And I love that you said that we just kind of have to see what we need in our day, you know?
mm,
So that's amazing. Another thing that I think is so important is to know what your triggers are in terms
mm,
of wound up nervous system, right? I know my phone is my trigger.
mm,
I take a sabbatical from Friday night sundown until Saturday night sundown. There's no phones, there's no TV, there's no cars. And in
amazing.
those 26 hours, I could tell you I'm in rest, digest, and repair. But as soon as the sun goes down on Saturday night and I know I've got to turn my phone back on, it's like instant. So, how
Yeah.
do I then build in a practice so that I can know that I have to turn on my phone, but not turn it on in that wound up state. So
Yeah.
that leads me to my next question is we were saying at the event, we don't want to make people think that they need to do this like elaborate practice because a lot of people get stressed just at the thought of building in a relaxation practice, right? That's not what we want. So what I would love for you to talk about is number one, where should people start? We know it all starts with awareness. We talked about that, the awareness that we have to be intentional. But
Yes.
what's a tangible thing that everybody could start? And what if people only have 2 minutes? What if people
Yeah.
have 10 minutes? What if someone has the luxury of time? How
Mm.
right? Is that's a foreign concept to me. How people curate a nervous system healing, grounding, calming program that fits into their life that's going to work for them and not stress them out.
Yeah. Great question. I truly think it is first and foremost the first. So you have the awareness, right? But then the next process is to really start to develop the mindset around it before you choose what it is you're going to do. Before you start to make the list of I need to do this in the morning before the kids get up, before before my morning coffee, just really adapting this softer approach and this just very open-minded approach that this is an exploration because it's wonderful. We live in a world and in a reality where there's a lots of resources, an abundance of resources. And like you said, that can feel quite overwhelming. Yeah, because we have this expert telling us to do this on Instagram and maybe, a family member is doing something that's really working for them, but then when you try it out, you're like, I don't really get it. That's not working for me. So, once the awareness is established, is to then keep an open mind. Yeah. Keep an open mind as you start that exploration of like, okay, what is it that I need? So I honestly think one of the best practices, and this is something that I use in my group coaching course, is the practice of journaling. Um,
Mm,
this is something that can literally be something that is guided, like a specific question of like, how do I feel today? What does my body need today? Where in my week? Because it does require a little planning ahead, right? So that journaling aspect. And I was a little bummed that I forgot to mention that. So I'm glad we're doing this.
I thought
Did
you
I
did mention it.
I think I mentioned it lightly, but now it like I'm
Yeah,
like, I need to bring this up in our Zoom, our recap, because it is so important to just find the time and space first and foremost to just make a plan and kind of just put pen to paper and saying like, okay, which day of the week can I fit in the 10 minutes, the 5 minutes, the 2 minutes, right? Or maybe it's like, okay, I have a full 60 minutes available to myself. Then like, can I book that sound healing session, or can I just plug those into my ears, or like a recorded sound bath? So I would say come up with some time to bring pen to paper and come up with what plan, how much time do you have, and what interests you, right? And if you only see that you have 1 to 2 minutes really throughout your day to check in with some nervous system regulation, the two things I'm going to highly recommend is to find a breathwork practice that can be really simple and really easy. And these breathwork practices do not have to be elaborate. We chatted about this last week. You do not need to be holding your breath for 3 minutes at a time. The simplicity of box breathing or triangle breathing is enough. Yeah.
yeah,
And now we have these watches and there's so many ways that we're connected, but they can also be a resource. Like I have something that every 2 hours gives me a little reminder to pause for 2.5 minutes and do my breathing exercise. Yeah.
yeah.
So super simple. If you're feeling very limited and you're like, I really don't have a lot of time, well, can you schedule 2 or 3 daily breaks throughout your day to just pause and breathe? Pause and breathe. And also on YouTube, you can find triangle and box breathing. I have some recordings of triangle. You too? You're on YouTube too?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, perfect. You can
My
find
favorite happens to be alternate nostril breathing.
that's a great one.
That is a good illustration of you have to find what works best for you. Some people swear by box breathing. I love the triangle breathing. For me, I find in the moment, the alternate nostril breathing works.
Mhm.
But one of my favorite messages that you gave at the event was it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be simple. So with my clients, I always say if you don't have 10 minutes, 20 minutes, if you don't have 5 minutes, do it for a minute. I call them snacking exercises. You don't have to do it for a long time, but snack on those breath practices several times a day and it will have a cumulative effect.
And to that point, like, when you start to do it, you're gonna start to feel better.
Yes.
And when you start to feel better, you're gonna start to look forward to that time in your day.
Yeah.
And a lot of what I work on with my clients is like, I think this is a belief that a lot of us have. There's not enough time. I don't have the time. And so that's part of the mindset. Like at first, it just takes like, we need to just get actionable. Like, what's one little thing I can do throughout the day? Okay, you're doing it, you're consistent. And then you start to see so much open up for you because you're like, wait, I made time for that and I'm feeling better. So why wouldn't I continue to be intentional about creating time for the things that make me feel better? That give me the kind of energy for my day that put me in a good mood so that when I'm coming home from work, I have quality experiences and time with my family. And so a lot of this is just like starting off just to get the ball rolling. But once that ball gets rolling, like this is what I tell my clients is like part of that idea of like it doesn't have to be complicated is because I so deeply want everyone to start to feel how simple it is.
Yeah.
So like when you keep it simple, feel good, it's like a snowball effect, but in the best of ways.
And when you start feeling better, your nervous system will start craving it, right? Your nervous system will start cueing you to say, okay, Susan, maybe you should take a minute before you go home or,
Yeah, I want to mention something there that's very important. So, creating habituation and rituals and like doing something at the same time every day is very important for habit forming. Like you mentioned at the talk, like repetition and consistency are key, but also like within that, like informing the mind and the body that this particular time of day or this particular corner in my room or this particular, just going outside, like when I step out at 3 p.m. or step out like wherever you have your break, it can be in the morning, it can be your lunch break, it can be when you get back from home, it can be right before bed, but just starting to create this sort of like framework so that when the body and mind arrive in the place and it's that time of day, the nervous system already is intelligent enough to know it's like, oh, this is our time for reset.
right.
I
We are working toward automaticity, right? When you repeat something in high volume over a period of time, it will become a habit, but your brain will integrate that as automaticity. Like you said, like, oh, here I am, time to down train. And I think that's amazing. And it could be something as simple as going outside first thing in the morning barefoot, right? It's so
love
simple. You're grounding, you are going outside to get that first morning sunlight. So I loved your message of simplicity. And I just have to say this because I feel like in our day and age, it's almost like a badge of honor to say I don't have time,
yeah.
right?
Oh,
Like a badge of honor to be stressed, to say I don't have time. We make time for things that are important. And when your nervous system's balanced, you feel better. And when you feel better, you're more productive. And when you're more productive, you're more confident. And when you're more confident, hopefully you're nicer. And it's just this like, we make time for things that are important to us. So, I think it's important not to go on a rant about that and say, meet people where they're at, meaning, okay, you think you only have 30 seconds, just go
yeah.
outside in the morning and take a walk barefoot. But build it up from there. in terms of journaling, I just have to say one thing that I caught when you were talking, bring pen to paper. I think there's something so grounding in bringing actual pen to actual paper. Don't
Mhm.
journal on your phone, don't journal on your computer, which I think some people do. I've gotten away from journaling, but you've inspired me to go back. I used to use Mel Robbins' 5-second journal, and it
Yeah.
incredible. Like, it was such an incredible way to start my day. Um, Chloe, I love your approach because I feel like it's so well-rounded. It's so comprehensive. I feel like it takes aspects of coaching and yoga and movement and mindset, and you kind of bring it all together in this like beautiful package that I think you do differently than anybody else in the most beautiful way. Tell us, because I know people are going to want to work with you, and I want you to sort of talk about how your approach is unique and different and kind of bringing all the senses together.
Yes. So you said that so beautifully. Thank you. You get me. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, there's so like you said, there's so many trends, there's so many fads, there's so many ways we can learn to take care of our nervous system a little better. And truly, my approach is all about a softer, more intentional way of truly taking a moment to really look at your life, what's out of balance, and then make the intention of like, where am I now and where do I want to be? So, truly, it is an integrative approach that I use with my clients that does pull in all of my different kinds of expertises. But it's with the intention to transform. Like transformation and change is what we're seeking. And I feel like for myself and my own personal story before that felt like I feel so much pressure around that word transformation and or I'd feel a lot of pressure around like the goal setting because that can be really debilitating for people, especially if they've tried things over and over again and it hasn't worked. So, a big part of the way that I am approaching the transformation is with like really small, digestible steps that just return you back to some of the most basic practices, the most basic ways of living. And like the way that you shared that you take your sabbatical for a full 24 hours, like I listen to that and like my heart just like feels so full, like listening to that. I'm like, I would love to do that. Like
Try
for
it.
me, it's a walk a day,
Yeah.
without listening to music and like allowing my nervous system to hear the birds chirp and like be present when I'm walking with my dog and maybe say hi to my neighbors. Like, so my approach is really around like, how do we create more compassion, specifically self compassion, um, gentleness, open mindedness around where we're at and where we want to be so that the transformation once again feels feasible. And I think sometimes when you're doing it alone, it can be overwhelming. It could be you're trying to release stress by creating more stress, and I've been there before. And so my journey of working with different kinds of coaches, everywhere from, a life coach to a business coach to a nervous system regulation coach, has taught me that like I don't need to do things alone. And that was a belief that I had for a really long time as an entrepreneur, as a woman. Um, like I was just like, okay, I'm really like, I gotta do this. I gotta power through this, right? Around that same belief, it's like, if I'm not busy, am I failing? Like, so a lot of it is around seeking the support. And so like I love that that's what lights me up. That's my passion is to like be in someone's corner, rooting them on. Um, an open ear to just really be a reflection, to have people have their process through a coaching container. So, what I've created is like a hybrid experience that is a group coaching container that focuses on nervous system regulation. Um, and whatever their specific transformation in addition to that. Like, has someone joined my group this week that was really interested, like really excited about just showing up as a better mom, right? Like just having more time to be present with her kids, right? That's very different from the entrepreneur that's joining my space. And that was important to me to like create a space of women that like diverse. We all have like different like transformative goals, but we know that at the core of that is like having some accountability and support around regulating our nervous system. Because once you're in that space of regulating your nervous system and you start to build that practice, and you start to feel better, like we were just talking about, then those other goals, it's like becomes really clear to create the action plan and create the presence in your life. So this hybrid course is like group coaching and then the one-on-one support with me over a 4-month period, which is really important because I think sometimes when we see on Instagram transformation videos, it's a reel. So you see 30 seconds or 60 seconds. The first 30 seconds is the before, and then the last 30 seconds is the after. And like, that's not how
Mm.
transformation happens. It's like the repetition
Yeah, you
steps.
gotta get your reps in, right?
Yeah, you gotta get your reps in.
Gotta get
So
your reps in.
yeah, it's pretty so that's been really beautiful for me to like step in a space finally where I can pull from the yoga, from the essential oils. That's another thing that I wanted to mention. Like when you do breath work and you only have a couple of seconds, if you have an essential oil at your desk or in your bag or in your car, and you can add a little aromatherapy to your palms and just take three and all it takes is three intentional breaths to activate the part of the brain that is going to allow you to go into that rest and digest. Essential oils are pivotal. Um, so yeah, the group coaching aspect is just so beautiful because it's, you getting the support to then integrate it into your life and see the changes that you've been wanting to see for months, for years, for some of us a lifetime. Like a lot of it's beautiful to see like how women come into the space and it's like I've never known what it's been like to not work my butt off, right? Like to not hustle and hustle. This is me. This is like a core part of my identity, but at this point, it's affecting my health. And so
Yes.
I know there are other options, and I want to like obviously like still be, a high achieving, high performing professional, but at the same time, I want to make sure that my health is also a priority.
Functioning also, right? You want all of those systems in your body not to come crashing down because you're a high achiever, high performer. I just There are some people that walk into my room in my office, and actually, I thank them for coming because their energy grounds me. I actually feel better when they leave. You are one of those people, Chloe. When I am in your presence, even here, through Zoom, it's like bizarre, but when I feel your energy, it's grounding. So all you women out there, you got to experience Chloe. She's really artfully masterful at what she does. How can people find you, Chloe?
Well, if you're in South Florida, I'm going to highly recommend you come out to a sound bath or a yoga class. I teach at different studios. I also offer private sessions, and all of my information, if you want to see what's coming up this summer, um, is on my website, which is chloeravel.com, or my branded name, which is thegeminirising.com. So there you can find where I'm going to be. And a lot of these events are either pop-up events, but I do have a regular schedule. So if you're like, okay, I would like to go to a yin yoga class once a week, where are you? You can find that at chloeravel.com. I would also love for you to follow me on social media. My handle is the Gemini Rising _ and it's this is my new mission because there's so much to share. I am sharing it in a different approach than like everything you can fit into 30 seconds. Like on my social media, you'll get journal prompts. Like if you're looking to like, okay, like I want to journal, I want to open up to journaling, like where do I start? You can get some journal prompts on my Instagram page. Um, and be able to connect and kind of see what the transformations are, like what are women experiencing as they prioritize themselves again, because truly all it is about coming back to ourselves.
Yeah.
Like that's what makes it so I don't know, also simple, right? It's just getting
And-
back to the core of us.
Yes. Thank you for including my tagline in there.
Is
Um,
it? Oh, true, true, true.
for your health. Chloe, your coaching program is special. I know that you offer like a taster with a free complimentary phone call. Can you tell people about that?
Yes, this is called it's a reset call. It's a nervous system assessment. So it's an opportunity for us to dive deep into what's going on for you in particular, where you're at, what's feeling out of balance, where you would like to be. It's a full assessment of truly like looking at the full picture for yourself. And then me being able to give you some tips to start off with. Like, if you're just coming to that call and that's enough, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is enough to like really like transform the next like season, as the kids are going to be home for summer, right? Like, this call, there's no obligation to sign up for the full coaching program. This is just a really beautiful opportunity to connect. Connection is one of my core values. And I really want to be able to support as many women as possible. Now, if you get on the call and you're like, okay, like, I need that kind of accountability and like loving support and community, then we can chat on that call towards the end of like how you can join this nervous system regulation course.
Amazing, Chloe. I know that you're going to be inundated after this. I just adore you and I adore working with you. And I want everybody to just sort of take away from this that the nervous system reigns supreme, healing happens in rest, digest, and repair. And you do have the time because self care is not a luxury, it's a necessity, right? Either you invest time now or you're going to be forced to invest time later. So be proactive, not reactive. Thank you, my friend.